All right, so on the most recent episode of Tiger Belly, Bobby Lee brings up how when he did The Tonight Show back in the early 2000s, I believe, he told a joke and another comedian stole that joke and told it again on The Tonight Show a couple years later. And it sounds like Bobby was mad about it, but he never brought this up to the comedian. He never talked about it. He never said anything publicly about it until recently on the Tiger Belly podcast yesterday when he brought this up, and he said the guy's name, but he bleeped it out. But you can hear the beginning of it and the end of it, so you can kind of guess. A lot of people are trying to speculate on who it could be. And there's two comedians that I think are the most likely suspects here. And one of them is Jay Mohr, who coincidentally I just talked about in yesterday's video, because back in the day, he kind of stole a story from Bert Kreischer, and he just doesn't really have the best reputation. But also people think Bobby could be talking about Joe Coy, because Bobby made it sound like he's also kind of friendly with this person, like they've hung out a lot, and Joe's done his podcast like 3 or 4 times. So this is another possibility. I'll play the clip here so you guys can hear it and decide for yourselves, and then I'll talk about it a little more afterwards.
I had a friend I did a joke on The Tonight Show. Mm-hmm. He did the same exact joke 2 years later on The Tonight Show.
Your joke?
Yeah, and I never said anything to him.
What?
Was you-
Even now?
Bobby,
Still now.
Bobby,
I've never said anything to
Bobby,
him.
you don't seem like the guy that would let it go.
No, no, it's in my heart.
You want to get it. You got
it's rage in my house. I'm going to get revenge for one day.
Let's call him. Let's
say
call him
who?
right now.
Yeah, I can tell, but you have to beep it out.
Yeah.
Oh!
I was at the Addison Improv. You know how when you're at the Improv, they tell you who's coming up?
Okay.
Right, so they used that clip of his coming up on his thing. And I was using that joke in my act. Right, so I watched it. I was in the back of the
I wish y'all could see his face.
I know. And something
That
happened in my
looks
eyes
like
when
me.
right. Like I was a reptile alien or whatever. Yeah, right. And I went into like a rage.
Right.
But I was gonna call him, but I was like, why? It's already on TV.
You've never.
He already did it on TV. What the fuck am I gonna do after that?
You've seen him so many times.
Yeah.
I know. So I let it go. I let it go.
Yeah.
Piece of shit. I love you though, dude. I love him. Back to David Arnold though. So
Okay.
David Arnold,
Yeah, so originally when I first heard this, I was pretty sure he was talking about Jay Mohr, probably because I was just talking about him a lot recently and how people are accusing him of being a joke thief. And also I saw this, I guess in a memoir, he admitted that he stole an entire routine from somebody's act when he was on SNL back in the day. And then also I looked up Bobby's Tonight Show appearance that I think he was referring to, and it was from April 2002. And then I looked up Jay Mohr's Tonight Show appearance. It was December 2002. And Bobby said it was a few years later, but I don't know. You know, he's probably not the best with time. So maybe it was just less than a year later. But the more I started listening to this, like I listened to it back a few more times, and it started to sound more like he's saying Joe Coy. And like I said, he's somebody that Bobby is friendly with. He's done the podcast a few times, and I don't think Bobby would bring it up to him because he's not that kind of person. Like Bobby clearly thinks about it still, but I don't think he'd ever bring this up to Joe in person. But at least Bobby finally put it out there after 20 years. And whoever he's talking about, I doubt they'll even remember, and I'm sure they'll deny it because it's been so long. They'll probably be like, dude, I don't know what you're talking about. That was too long ago. I don't steal jokes. You know, I doubt they would actually accept this at all. But maybe Bobby finally worked up the courage to confront him about this. Also, he probably didn't want to confront them back in the day because he was working with Carlos Mencia, who was stealing a bunch of jokes, so he can't be calling out other people for stealing jokes if his boss is doing that. So I also looked up Joe Coy's appearance on The Tonight Show, and he was on there in January of 2006, which is almost 4 years after Bobby's appearance, but again, maybe Bobby's timeline is off here. And there is one other person that I saw people mentioning, but this sounds like more of a stretch, Jimmy Carr. It didn't really sound like he said that name, but Jimmy did make an appearance on The Tonight Show in 2003, like a year after Bobby's appearance. So that timeline matches up a little better, but it doesn't sound like he really said Jimmy Carr. You know, listening back to it, I'll play it again here. The most likely one it sounds like, I'd say, is Joe Coy. And with their reaction to it, I feel like if he said Jay Mohr, they probably wouldn't have cared as much. That doesn't seem as interesting. He's not really a big name anymore. People don't talk about him that much. But Joe Coy, you know, he's still a big time comedian. He's doing podcasts. He's been on Bobby's podcast. It sounds like they're friendly with each other. So I just think that name would get a stronger reaction. And I just feel like that's probably the most likely person here. So maybe him and Bobby could talk about it and work things out. That'd be cool if Bobby actually confronted him about it and had him on the podcast. That'd be awesome. I'm sure a lot of people tune into that. But I don't think that'll ever happen. So that's about it for this video. Let me know what you guys think about it all. Let me know who you think he's talking about. Maybe I'm missing somebody here. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and then make sure you go check out my Patreon account. I have a bunch of videos up there. If you want to hear about Kramer or Michael Richards' infamous N-word rant at the Laugh Factory, I made a video about that. That's probably one of my most popular videos on there. People really seem to enjoy it. And then also I have a video about the downfall of Milo Yiannopoulos. And I have some videos about some of the most awkward and cringy Joe Rogan Experience episodes. There's some really good ones. And if you just want to stay up to date on the channel and support the channel, make sure you go check it out. And then hit the like button here, hit the subscribe button, and I'll catch you at the next video.